I thought I could beat the system. We were told so much about not being alone with a woman.
More disturbing video of pedophile priest Lawrence Hecker, in his own words under oath, explaining why he sexually abused several teenage boys. Now, that is video of Hecker's 2020 deposition that you can only see here on WWL Louisiana.
Investigative reporter David Hammer and our partner Ramon Vargas at The Guardian began reporting about the deposition yesterday. David's in studio with us tonight with more on what Hecker had to say. David?
Yeah, Katie and Charisse, yesterday we showed you Hecker's confession and his testimony about what church leaders knew, when they knew it, and how molesting children, in his words, wasn't a big deal in those days. Tonight we take a look at why he thought, as he said, he could game the system to keep having sex with boys. And we should warn you, some of the details Hecker gives about his sexual acts with children are disturbing.
In
8.5 hours of sworn testimony in December 2020, confessed child molester priest Lawrence Hecker kept offering a basic line of defense. He told an attorney representing some of his accusers the Archdiocese of New Orleans was very clear about celibacy.
Avoid women.
Right. Things
Never
like
be alone with a woman.
But the church's rules about touching boys, Hecker said those weren't so clear.
Were you given those same instructions about other men or minors?
No.
Hecker said that attitude led him to think it was okay to have sex with underage boys in the 1960s and 70s, just like he told us in an interview last August.
Like I say, it was a sexual revolution, and people were saying, oh, look, we were bound all these years, all these centuries, now we're free. And I fell for that.
Little changed even after the parents of one boy came forward to Archbishop Philip Hannon in 1988 to allege Hecker had sex with their son.
Evidently, Archbishop Hannon trusted me that what I said was true, that I would not be in any such circumstances.
In a statement this week, the Archdiocese says it has, quote, no information regarding this incident or reason to believe it is accurate. But Hannon sent this letter in 1989 to a top church official in New York about Hecker being assigned to a sabbatical there without mentioning the allegations.
There's nothing in here. It wasn't a big deal in those days.
Hecker acknowledged attitudes had changed by the time he was accused again, this time in 1996 by the mother of 3 boys.
By that time, we were told never to be alone with anyone under the age of 18. Before, we were only told, don't be alone. In fact, we were encouraged, frankly, to be with younger people, especially younger boys, in the hopes that they would want to become priests. So it was encouraged.
But the punishment he got from church higher-ups, he said that had hardly changed at all.
What did they do in investigating this?
They just told me that evidently that a report had been given.
Well, that's not really an investigation, is it?
Well, they asked me, they, talked to me about it, and, we don't want to see it happen again.
Hecker was accused again in 1999, and that led him to confess in writing that he was a serial child molester. He claimed he had stopped abusing back in 1980.
I've made it a point not to be alone with anyone under 18, and if possible, not to be alone with anyone. And certainly not to hold anyone except for a holy hug.
So what did the Archdiocese do? It promoted Hecker to Monsignor, sent him on another sabbatical, and returned him to active ministry in 2000 at a church in Destrehan attached to a grammar school.
They knew about this, so they knew to keep an eye on me. They knew not to let me get in any situation where anything bad would occur.
One church official wrote in 2011 that Hecker kept molesting kids until 1997. But Hecker kept arguing that sexual contact with boys was no big deal, nothing like being alone with a woman. Just listen as Hecker reads what a church official wrote about him in 2005 in a memo to Archbishop Alfred Hughes.
I met with Father Hecker today and gave him the information you received via letter on Monday. He said, I don't know about fondling, but they were sleeping close together. He acknowledged the nude swimming and his frequent visits to the home of the family. Another statement of Larry was, I thought I could beat the system. We were told so much about not being alone with a woman. I didn't think too much about masturbation. I didn't think masturbation while holding on to someone was a sin.
And what caused this church official concern? That the public might learn the church's former Boy Scout coordinator was a confessed child molester.
I told him that we understood he had to try to name all his victims, but there still is the possibility of more accusers may come forward if this should get to the media. I reminded him that given his work with the Boy Scouts in many years, there was a distinct possibility. He said he was aware of this. He thanked me for the information and left with a somber disposition. Yeah, I remember this now. Yes.
Now, the Archdiocese says it has no information about any abuse by Hecker in 1997, but we have a copy of that 2011 memo from the church's Victims Assistance Coordinator to Archbishop Gregory Amen, stating Hecker, quote, continued perpetrating through 1997. Sure.